Welcome back to the Ubumfa Pod 2026, or no, 2025. We've already talked about the NFC. If you haven't that, please go check that out. Today we're talking about the AFC, talking about everything that has happened, is happening. We're going to share all the right answers for you for the upcoming season.
Easy
Hey,
peasy. We
easy
don't ever
peasy.
get anything wrong, so
No,
should
we're
definitely listen with both ears open.
yeah. I checked right about it. It's crazy as it is to believe. I double, triple checked. So I don't know. If I were you, I would listen in extra intently. The AFC is always interesting because it's kind of definitely got all the. I mean, it has the top four quarterbacks in the NFL. I think most people agree. Um, whatever the top four are all over there on that side of the league, and whenever you have that, uh, it just leads to a much more interesting and competitive situation. Waiting all the way into the playoffs to see who's going to end up on top. Uh, so yeah, let's jump right into it. Andrew, pick a number between one.
One.
All right, let's start with the AFC.
Oh my.
AFC North, kind of famously has been a tough division, one of the most competitive divisions in football over the last like decade plus. Uh, Always feels like they're just absolutely beating the shit out of each other every year. But this year's a little interesting. It's a
It,
little interesting. I think we got a bit of a clearer picture on a lot of these teams than in the past. Uh, and so, yeah, let's start with the Baltimore Ravens. Starting off, they extended Rashad Bateman for the second time. Uh, they have extended Derrick Henry. They signed Cooper Rush as their backup. They signed DeAndre Hopkins to a 1 year deal. Re-signed Ronnie Stanley to a big contract, and signed Jair Alexander to a 1 year, $4 million contract. Uh, this team was one of the best teams in football. A lot of people would say by the end of the year it was the best team in,
yeah.
which is why, of course, despite how far they made it, it's still very disappointing that they weren't able to make it further down into the playoffs. I mean, this team has been the last few years, and I think it still very much is. They keep building on what they've had before, haven't lost a whole lot, have added some pieces on, but in the end, I think this is definitely one of those teams where we kind of maybe similar to the Eagles. They're one of the teams to beat in the regular season, and then the postseason, you just kind of hope away in ways that they haven't in the past.
Facts. They did add a superstar backup quarterback this year in
Mm-hmm.
Cooper Rush. So if Lamar goes down, they're in great hands with a quarterback with a very similar skill set to Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But no, I mean everything you said is pretty spot on. There's pretty much no reason to think they shouldn't be just as good, if not better, than last year. And hopefully, I guess depending, I mean not everybody's hopeful for this, but maybe they can figure it out in the postseason this year for the first time, or maybe they just never will. Um, but like I just think, in terms of just looking at the roster, looking at everything that they put together, I guess it's the first team we're talking about, but like I don't think there's a better roster in the entire, maybe in the entire NFL than
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you take into account the quarterback, like you're not just saying supporting cast, and like obviously we can argue that the supporting cast, as far as the receivers go, on the Ravens has always left something to be desired. Um, but end of the day, Mark Andrews is a flat Rashad Bateman, DeAndre Hopkins, Isaiah Likely. You could do a lot worse. And then of course you have Derrick Henry in the backfield. I mean, Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson together is just kind of ridiculous. It still kind of breaks my brain to think about. And it was cool to watch how just effective and ridiculous that combo was in the regular season last year. Um, I don't. As somebody again, two NFC fans here, I definitely feel like the Ravens are one of those teams where it's just like you do kind of want to see them fill their potential
Yep.
into the postseason. You want to see them maybe we get that Bills Ravens game in the AFC Championship instead of the divisional round. You want to see them just go deeper and play better and have all this momentum going into a Super Bowl. And as long as they continue to find ways to lose in the postseason, it's just kind of like, okay, man, like sounds good.
Yep.
Which is hard, but that's the price you pay when you're just automatically considered teams one of the best players in the NFL. The bar gets raised. You've been in this place arguably since Lamar Jackson has joined the league.
Yep.
And that was a while ago now. So we're kind of saying, hey, like I don't know with John Harbaugh and some of that coaching staff. I mean, it's a great coaching staff. Obviously, John Harbaugh, great CEO coach for a long time, but you kind of similar to another team we're going to talk about, or maybe we're going to talk about. You're kind of hoping to see more from what this team has been able to get you again in those pressure moments.
Yep.
They do lose. They lose Justin Tucker, both because he sucks and also because he seems to be a bad person.
Yep.
They should replace him with Tyler Loop. We'll see. And they also drafted Malachi Starks in the first round as a safety, which obviously they already have Kyle Hamilton, who they extended recently as well. So, I don't know. Still feel pretty good about that situation. Mike Green out of Marshall in the second round. Also could be a beast.
Yep.
Also could be a horrible person. Probably is. Has 2 sexual assault allegations from college. Obviously, they were uncharged and denied, but I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, probably did something he wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, especially you got 2.
Yeah. Not great, Bob. Not great. So, but to the Ravens, they just care about how he plays. And, yeah, not really that much to say about the Ravens. I'm kind of curious to see just having kind of a sure-handed guy who can still run routes at the short and intermediate level. And see if that Rashad Bateman contract keeps paying off. All right, on to the next one. We got the Cincinnati Bengals, right?
Yes.
I believe they ended second in the division last year. Yeah, kind of definitely a weird season for the Bengals. Came off to a slow start. That lost to the Patriots last year, and that had us thinking all sorts of things coming out of that first week. We thought, okay, maybe the Patriots defense is going to be crazy. Patriots have a chance, and maybe the Bengals are just they're just out of it. What's going on? They're able to pull it together towards the back half of the season. One second. Yeah, let me just.
My D-A-D-D-Y. All right,
So,
I'm gonna have to cut a little bit here, but I'm gonna write down the time.
Yeah.
It was getting kind of bad.
No, I mean, yeah, for sure. For sure.
It was like 8-9 minutes. Okay, we're good.
Okay. Yeah. So Bengals, weird start. Pull it together towards the back end. The defense was terrible, even though Trey Hendrickson ended up leading the league in sacks. Pretty much nobody else on the defense was doing shit, and that left Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Chase Brown to try and do their best. Remarkably, they do almost make the playoffs by the end of the year, but don't quite make it. Obviously, that ends up being a disappointing season. You come into this year, you say, okay, the defense has to be better. They fire their defensive coordinator, Louis Anarumo, replace him with somebody else. Can't remember who. And you're hoping that fixes some things, because you do have some young pieces on this defense, but They
Yep.
didn't really do anything to add consciously or directly to the talent on this defense. And even Trey Hendrickson, you waited to the very last minute to give him a 1-year deal, and we already saw that last year just him is not enough. And so that's the question: can the offense overcome the defense in the long run?
Yeah, I have no reason to really think that the defense is going to be, like you said, any better. And it seemingly, historically, doesn't really matter what Burrow and company do on offense, because that defense just drags them down, no matter what.
Yep.
And it's a shame because you would think a team that has people like Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown should probably be making it deep into the playoffs every year, but
Yes.
that's not the case. And I don't know how much room there really is for optimism in terms of that being a whole lot better this year.
I've heard some people talk about like how, the offense was kind of historically bad last year. Maybe with the same talent, the average is more closer to just like bad. And if they're just bad with how the offense played last year, you hope that they can maybe just get a slightly better record and make it into the playoffs. And once they get into the playoffs, you hope, okay, anything can happen with that offense. For me, and how I view things, you have to have at least a competent defense in the postseason to hope that you can make it through against all these top teams. I don't think that the idea that you can power your way through with a high-powered offense and a bad to dog shit defense that can get you into the playoffs. I would never bet that is going to get you to the Super Bowl, especially against like the Ravens, who have a great defense and a great offense. And so, good luck to Bengals fans. Obviously, I hope the offense is fun enough for you to watch and enjoy the season, and you make it to the playoffs and you feel good about that. But again, kind of alluded to it earlier with John Harbaugh. Zach Taylor, he's the offensive guy, and the offense has been good, so it feels kind of bad to say, oh, he has to go. But it's like you have the third best quarterback in the NFL, maybe top 2 wide receiver, top 2 wide receiver 2, just a top end offense overall, and like you don't really see the path to that leading to the kind of success that you want and the kind of success you had 3 years ago when you made it to the Super Bowl, and haven't really sniffed it since. I don't know. It's a tough spot to be. I think it's a tough spot to be. I think it's a lot more fun to kind of see how this all plays out as an uninvested third party, but as a Bengals fan, I would be pretty frustrated.
Yep. 100%.
They had Shamar Stewart in the draft. Not much else. And even him, like he was a prospect that needed reps, that needed time and practice, and they didn't give him that because they had all the contract issues with him.
Yep. That's not good. Not how you think things should go.
Yeah, and at this point, you have all this money wrapped up in T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow. I don't know. It's just like you hope that they can. I mean, obviously, after this year, I don't know what they're going to do with Trey Hendrickson, but once you lose Trey Hendrickson, unless one of these young pieces kind of breaks out, you're just looking at the same deal. I don't really know what it's going to look like for them to invest in this defense over the next few years, but they're going to have to, and they're going to have to probably do a lot of it in the draft.
Yep.
And so, good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, you just have an astronomical amount of money tied up in your offense, and there's just not that much room outside of that.
Nope. There is the option to franchise tag Trey Hendrickson after this year because he did not include a no tag clause in his contract for reasons that are beyond me. Like, I think Trey Hendrickson should fire his agent after that contract. Like, you hold out and then that's what you get. Okay, whatever, man. That works for you. But I think you bailed out this dog shit organization and this dog shit front office again. And Bengals fans, I wouldn't be expecting a Super Bowl from this team anytime in the near future, despite the talent on offense.
Yep.
That's how I feel.
100%.
Okay. On to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which are probably the one team in this division that you're kind of like, I don't really know. I
Yep.
don't really know what we're gonna get here. I've always been a Tomlin guy. I've always been a hey, as long as he's there, 9-8, book it. Um, and it very well could be the same this year.
Yep.
You add Aaron Rodgers, you add DK Metcalf in the trade. They signed Kenneth Gainwell. They signed Jonnu Smith. They added Robert Woods. Added Ben Skoranek. Added Scotty Miller. So a lot of just random offensive pieces to throw in there. Roman Wilson coming off of injury his rookie year. They're hoping for a leap from him coming out of Michigan. So obviously we're both fans of his. Extended TJ Watt.
Got
Added
Jalen
Darius
Ramsey.
Slay. They traded Jalen Ramsey for what's his name?
Minka Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick. Yep, Minka Fitzpatrick. I think that move is fine. I don't have strong feelings about the move for Jalen Ramsey trading for Minka Fitzpatrick. I think you probably feel pretty good about that corner room.
Yep.
Now,
100%. 100%.
If Jalen Ramsey ends up playing mostly nickel, you still have the guy they drafted a few years ago who has been good for them. Obviously you also have Darius Slay, who is also older but has shown himself to be, competent veteran. So
Joey Porter.
the defense,
Is that who you're thinking of?
Joey Porter. Yep, that's what I'm thinking of. I thought JPJ, and my brain went to Jackson Power Johnson, and I was like, no, that's not the one. But it's Joey Porter Jr. That's what I'm thinking of. Added Derek Harmon in the draft. Feel good about. I think he's a prospect that I liked. Caleb Johnson in the running back room after losing Najee Harris.
Yep, pretty high on Caleb Johnson and Jack Sawyer.
Yeah, Jack Sawyer. I liked Caleb Johnson too. Haven't heard amazing things out of camp from just the running game in general, but yeah, we'll see. Still have Jalen Warren there. I mean, it's maybe probably a little too simplistic just to say that, again, this all comes down to Aaron Rodgers and what he's got left and how he meshes with the Arthur Smith offense with DK Metcalf and how much DK Metcalf brings to the table as a receiver. Who, I think the frustration in Seattle was that he was kind of he continued to be too kind of one trick with his skill set and wasn't. He developed definitely over the course of his career, but not to the extent I think they were hoping for.
Yeah,
defense will probably be good, but
outside of DK Metcalf, it's like you're just kind of hoping with a lot of these guys. I don't think you can really bet much on Calvin Austin, Scotty Miller, Ben Skoranek, and Roman Wilson. Like maybe,
nope.
But
yeah, maybe you hope.
Yeah, you have to hope. There's no guarantee there.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it does help when you do have Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith. That's like pretty decent in terms of a tight end room, but I do think the thing though is like, I think in theory, this is like probably a better roster than what they had last year.
Yeah.
At least
probably.
It is in some ways. I feel like maybe in the ways that matter, it is gonna, like you said, depend on kind of what we see from Aaron Rodgers. But despite all of that, I just I don't know. They were 10-7 and made the playoffs last year. I don't know. Like maybe that happens again. I don't think it's gonna be any better than that. Yeah, it's like best case scenario probably. I think they're gonna be probably pretty close to 500 and just do the same like Tomlin shit that they do every year, and then get bounced in the first round. And it'll be the same as every other year.
Yeah. I mean, when was the last time? I mean, even just the reality is, when's the last time we got to see Aaron Rodgers light it up in the playoffs? Like, it just, doesn't... As much as I would want to believe that, Aaron Rodgers is inherently a better bet to win you a playoff game than anything they've had since, the last 2 years of Ben Roethlisberger, or before that, I mean. Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers hasn't made a deep playoff run that's been convincing in a long time. Even that concept of okay, we go 10-7, we make it into the playoffs. Okay, but like you're saying, do we really think that they can not get bounced by any of these division winners, whether it's Ravens? I guess we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but let's just say Ravens, Bills, Texans, and Chiefs.
Yeah.
Can they beat any of those teams? Maybe, and we'll get to it, I guess. But like, this almost, I mean, I don't want to say it because again, I am a Mike Tomlin fan, but this very much feels to me like if we can't, this is the build we've got. If we can't make it happen with Aaron Rodgers, sorry, like we gotta move forward. But that's just so anti-Steelers that it's hard to even predict it.
Yep.
Like, can we, like, if the Steelers don't get a winning record, maybe he has something in his contract that says, we'll fire you as soon as you don't get a winning record. I'm not going to be sitting here saying, oh, yeah, the Steelers are going to be much better now that they don't have Mike Tomlin and they've torn everything down. And, I mean, they just extended, like, TJ Watt and all this stuff, so it's not like they're getting rid of the roster anytime soon. But
yep.
I don't really see the path forward for this team. It's been that way for years now. You just hope that, I mean, again, like, even if you win a playoff game, are Steelers fans going to be losing their shit? Unless it's like a blowout? Like, you know you're not going to the you know you're not going to the Super Bowl.
No. I
So-
think basically unless they make a really, really, really deep run. And even if they do, Aaron Rodgers, who knows? I mean, I imagine this is probably his last year. There's got
sounds
to
like it
be a point where, like, you got to try something new. And you gotta tear the whole thing down. I honestly think it's past due. I feel like I've said it on this podcast.
Any
It's
other
past
team would have
due.
done it.
Exactly.
But this team, no. This team is too consistency and continuity pilled, which is admirable. I do very much admire it. I do genuinely admire it, but we're seeing the limitations of such a strategy with how the NFL is set up. So yeah, not much more even really to linger on with this team. Very curious what especially the Aaron Rodgers DK Metcalf connection looks like and how much you can squeeze out of that.
Yep.
As well as how much the run game can have a bounce back post Najee Harris. I think those are going to be the two big things that determine the success for this team. Because I don't want to hear about another defensively carried Steelers team.
Nope.
Like, I need to see the offense putting up points. They need to be having several games throughout the season where they can put up close to or more than 30 points, or else what are we talking about?
Yep. 100%.
All right, and then finally the Cleveland Browns. What is there to say about this absolute embarrassment of a football team?
Glad it's not mine.
They extended Myles Garrett. Yeah, amen. Extended Myles Garrett. Traded for Kenny Pickett. Signed Joe Flacco.
They drafted 2 quarterbacks this year.
They drafted Dylan Gabriel in the 4th round and Shadur Sanders in the 5th. Mason Graham, they trade out of the second spot, to the 5th to take Mason Graham instead of Travis Hunter.
Which is still a head scratcher.
They obviously get some ammo for that for the future, but it is a head scratcher considering the relative talent of those two prospects. They had 2 running backs in addition to 2 quarterbacks, like you said. Quinshon Judkins, who had some legal trouble but seems like he's on track to play. And Dylan Sampson, who was a player who I also liked a lot coming out from Tennessee.
Pretty high on both of those guys, truthfully.
Yep. Yeah, same. And you kind of assume that they're going to be leaning on the run game a lot this year, as they have in the past with Kevin Stefanski, because Joe Flacco is their starting quarterback. And the 2 quarterbacks they have waiting in the wings, I don't think anybody, except for maybe a few outliers, thought that. Well, no, I guess it's not true. People thought Shadur could be a franchise quarterback. Not many people thought that Dylan Gabriel could be, even though there's things to like about him.
Yep.
But they took Dylan Gabriel first, and he's first in line to take over, it seems like, when Joe Flacco inevitably sucks. And, I mean, I don't even know the offensive line struggled last year compared to years past, which affected the offense a lot. They didn't really do much to fix that. The defense should still be decent, but it seems like they've also taken a step back from their historic run a few years ago.
Yep.
You still have Myles Garrett, but Not much else. You know, they lost Dalvin Tomlinson and all that. I've said it before, my kind of half-baked take with this team and also the Saints to some extent is that this could be very easily just like a 1-16 team. Is how I feel.
Yeah. I think it's very possible because I mean you got to think Joe Flacco, like, I just don't see any way that he goes out there and tears it up. He's 40
He's
years
done it
old.
before, but
He has done it before, but I don't know. I kind of doubt it. I don't think this is going to be the year it happens. And then
yeah,
you eventually give it to Dylan Gabriel, you give it to Shadur Sanders, and like I for one don't think that's a very good approach. Like I almost just think you just send Dylan Gabriel or Shadur out there to start the season and
yeah,
like get them meaningful reps
yeah.
to begin with, because like Joe Flacco is not the quarterback of the future for you.
Nope.
Um, but even then, like regardless of you start Flacco, you don't start Flacco, I just am not expecting a whole lot from Gabriel or Sanders. And I mean, we still like Quinshon Judkins like figured some things out, but I don't even think he signed his deal still. So
No,
who
I guess
knows
not.
when and if he'll play? Maybe he'll sit out all year and can get drafted by another team next year, or go
That
back
would be
to
something.
OSU
God,
or
that would be
something.
something. You lose your
Um,
second round pick though, number
yeah,
36 overall pick. I don't know.
pretty
That's
tough.
tough.
Pretty
That's tough.
tough. Um,
And,
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say like that's also like Jerry Jeudy had a good year last year. Finally, kind of showed some of why he was drafted when he was. I just like you can't really lean on that when these are the quarterbacks.
Exactly.
And at that point, Quishon Judkins, if he plays, which I assume at some point he will, is going to be your most exciting offensive piece, which is fine. Well, it's not fine, but I mean, this just feels like the Browns team from 2 or 3 years ago when Nick Chubb was healthy. Nick Chubb is your most exciting piece on offense, and then you have a bunch of schmucks at wide receiver and a dog shit quarterback, and at least then you had a good offensive line. The offensive line again has been taking consistent steps backward year to year, which means the running game will not be as good. I just don't know where that leaves you. I think this is a mess, and we all know why it's a mess.
Yep.
Um, don't even really have to go over it, but I don't know. This team deserves everything it gets, and your biggest hope at this point is that the young core that you drafted, like you got to pray and hope on your knees that one of the quarterbacks looks competent enough, and then on top of that, you hope that some combination of Mason Graham, Quinshon Judkins, and Harold Fannin, the tight end they drafted in the third round, flash for you in meaningful ways. That you have a young core here that you can build upon. Because without that, I just think this team is absolutely 100% top to bottom cooked.
Yep.
And I don't care how much people like Kevin Stefanski. He couldn't make Deshaun Watson work at all. Like, if that defense in 2023 wasn't, like, the best defense of, like, the decade, they would not have won those, like, 5 to 6 first games that they won with Deshaun Watson 2 years ago.
100%.
And so you kind of have to ask yourself, yeah, what's everybody bringing to the table here? So with that all being said, I think the Ravens easily win this division. No reason to think otherwise.
100%.
Between the Steelers and the Bengals, I think there is a conversation, depending on how good Aaron Rodgers plays. I'm almost tempted to put the Steelers above them, but I'm not going to. I'm going to say that the Bengals will probably stay at number 2, and then maybe the Chiefs, or not the Chiefs, the Steelers are on their heels, and then I expect the Browns to be firmly in last place as if it were 10 years ago.
Yep. I pretty much agree. The Ravens somehow don't win this division, it would be probably the biggest shocker of the entire season.
100%. It would be mind breaking for that to happen.
Yep. It's like they could win this division next year with like 10 wins. Is the thing too. I think it's very possible.
Yes, I do think that is probably true. Okay. Let's go to the AFC South.
AFC South.
AFC South. This has been another one of those kind of punchline divisions for a while now. The only thing that really separates it, I mean, really, it's not even necessarily that different from the NFC South in that whether it's the Bucks or the Texans, there's been one team that's basically been the de facto winner. But obviously, the Texans, it's only been since CJ Stroud got there. Before that, it seems like it was the Jags division to lose, and they did lose it a little too often.
Yep.
And Texans, we'll start with them, obviously. They come off of a strong year. CJ Stroud kind of has the Jaden Daniels kind of immediate breakout. Seems like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Does some really, really special stuff with a team that was expected to perform significantly worse going into the year. They overperform. Then they go into the next year. They get stuff on Diggs. You're like, okay, they're gearing up to go for it this year. And you have kind of a disappointing season, even though you do get a playoff win. And honestly, give it to the Chiefs pretty decently in that divisional round. You end up saying, okay, we didn't quite have everything together that we thought we did. They fire their offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick, who also seemed like a phenom in the first year. Replace him with somebody else. You completely upend the offensive line, which was a huge issue last year. You trade away your all-pro Laramie Tunsil at tackle.
Yep.
You bring in a bunch of schmucks at tackle and guard. You bring in Cam Robinson, which I can tell you will not solve your problems. Everything I've heard out of the Texans so far is that they brought in all these MFers to basically compete for pretty much any spot.
Yep.
The whole thing is basically just like a start over. Like anybody can win any spot. There's no clear like this guy is going to take this spot for sure. And that's just a really scary place to be as a team.
Yep.
Obviously, it's hard to say it's going to be worse than last year because last year was truly terrible. And pretty much the main reason why that team did not perform to the level that they were supposed to. But it's hard to feel better about it, and it's hard to feel like for any reason this year would be a marked step forward, except for the fact that they have a new coordinator that will hopefully have a better structure and system for the offensive line and the quarterback.
Yep. Yeah, I also just like, I mean, they've done a lot to address this, but we'll see kind of how it pans out. I mean, Nico Collins is a star, but Tank Dell, just unfortunate, so unfortunate career.
Yeah.
Like, who knows if he'll even play a snap again?
I don't think so.
It seems like it's probably over for Buddy, which is pretty heartbreaking. And obviously Diggs leaves. You sign you get Christian Kirk, which
decent.
It's not bad.
I think it's a little under. I mean, you take on the
seventh.
contract. You take on the contract, which is why it's a seventh. He's been a solid player in his career. Fine, I think, as a wide receiver too.
Yep.
But not exciting.
True, not exciting for sure. But then I mean they took Jaden Higgins in the second, which I like him, pretty high on him.
Yep.
And they took Jalen Noel in third, which also like if both of those pan out, that's going to be amazing. I mean, that could be outstanding. You could have a pretty unbelievable core if both of those picks pan out.
Sure. And people like both of them a lot coming into the draft. There were different people who kind of liked one more than the other, but I think they were big fans of both.
Yep. But, I mean, now Joe Mixon's hurt. They did sign Nick Chubb, which, like, if Nick Chubb looks decent, that could be cool, but I just, like, am not willing
cool
to
is even
bet
maybe
that much
nice.
on it.
It could be fine, I feel like, if Nick Chubb is decent.
Yep. And, I mean, besides Nick Chubb, it's... I mean, Dameon Pierce, who's, like, nothing, really, exactly. And I don't know any of the other running backs on the roster, so...
I don't either. Yeah.
You got Dalton Schultz at tight end, but I don't care about that guy.
So true.
At all.
Yes.
And, I mean, of course, they obviously didn't have their first because of the Will Anderson trade, which, I mean, still...
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah, you don't give a fuck about that.
Nope. But, yeah, it's just kind of like I feel like they're just kind of a question mark. But the thing is, I still think they're in a better position than almost all the other teams in this division.
100%.
which is what's kind of baffling about it, is that they can potentially get away with this again.
Yes. Well, we'll get to them. All the pressure will be on the Jags, I think, once again, to show that they are a real team that we can pay attention to. But yeah, in the meantime, I mean, I think the big thing, we talk a lot about the offense because that's where it feels like the swing is. Will the offense get back to closer to what it was in 2023, which, or 2024, which, no, 2023, which was still, like, wasn't even outrageous. It was just pretty good with CJ Stroud as a rookie. You hope you can actually build on it to move closer to a top-end offense. But if not, this could be the best defense in the NFL. Easily.
Yep.
I think very easily. I think that they would be my pick right now to be the best defense in the NFL. Between just, they added C.J. Gardner-Johnson to an already stacked safety and corner room. You get Stingley extended. You add Danielle Hunter for another year. Him and Will Anderson are an absolute ridiculous duo on the edge.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the floor for this team is very safe. And I think even last year kind of proved that with how the offense fell apart, and they still managed to stay in it. Yeah, I think they are definitely still the de facto kind of division winners, and we'll see from there. I do think the wide receiver room, like you kind of pointed out, is an interesting point as well. The wide receiver room and the offensive line will be the two big things to watch as far as how competent this looks, how well put together does this look, how much can just Nico Collins and C.J. Stroud make up for the probably what will be the inevitable flaws in this roster. Okay, going on to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Pretty frustrating team over the last few years. Got that win against the Chargers, what feels like a decade ago. They lose Mr. Peterson as their head coach. They replace him with Liam Cohen. They replaced their general manager as well, even though at first it looked like they were going to keep him. And then they changed their mind because everybody was like, you're an idiot. Why would you keep this dumb idiot? And they're like, okay, our bad. And switched him out. They bring in Nick Mullins as their backup quarterback, Diami Brown as their wide receiver 3. Add some tight ends. Not much else in free agency.
Yeah, they went out and got Jordan Lewis.
That's right.
Wish
Jordan
he was,
Lewis, yeah.
wish he was still a Cowboy, because he was really good last year, and not everybody I think was privy to that, but he was really good last year.
Yeah, no, that was another good pickup for sure for a corner room that definitely needed the help. Speaking of corner help, they trade up with the Browns, the second overall pick, to take Travis Hunter, the wide receiver and corner out of Colorado. Another risky move, I think, compared to what the Falcons did. I'm more okay with it because you were trading up for top-end talent.
Yep.
You're trading up for a what was considered kind of an actual blue-chip player in this draft, and there weren't many of them.
Yep.
But then the pressure immediately gets put on this organization to maximize the talent that Travis Hunter brings to the table. And we won't litigate what he should or will do as far as, or what the team will or should do as far as the wide receiver to corner ratio. I would probably say majority should be on offense, considering what you're trying to hopefully get out of Trevor Lawrence this year and Liam Cohen. You have Brian Robinson, who was great last year, even with subpar quarterback play. In the end, between that, Bashal Tuden added in the 4th round to hopefully add some fire underneath Travis Etienne's feet. You're just hoping for competent. You're just hoping for something that makes sense for the Jaguars. You're just hoping for something that week to week you're like, okay, we got a competent offense, a defense that can be good enough, maybe close to, maybe slightly below average. Just be in it. Be on the graphic at the at the end of the season. To say, okay, they're in the hunt.
Yep.
They are a team.
Yeah.
I don't know how much else you can ask.
You'd have to hope that since they kind of cleaned house, hopefully Cohen can bring something interesting, because reality is there's a lot of interesting pieces on this offense.
Yep.
I mean, it's just like you got to be pretty geeked having Brian Thomas as well as Travis Hunter. I mean, that's like
100%.
a pretty unbelievable tandem there, and like they're so young. I mean, it's just like
Yep.
absurd. You could be stacked, for
Trevor
so
Lawrence is
long.
young.
Trevor Lawrence
He's
is still
like
young.
25. He's like 24,
Yeah.
25 years old.
He's 25 going into his what, 5th or 6th year. I
Yeah.
mean,
5th year, I think.
still young. You're even your running backs. Etienne's 26, but you have Tank Bigsby and you've got Tootin, who are like 23, 22 years old.
Yep.
Got a lot of pretty young guards and tackles as well.
Yeah.
You just got to think if like Cohen can finally hopefully unlock something here with Lawrence that's been, yet to be seen. That we all believe, I would argue, that he has in him. I don't think anybody would tell you that, like, he doesn't.
Oh, there's people. There's people.
I guess so, but I don't know. I know it's been a long time.
Not
but-
reasonable people.
Exactly. You'd think if they perform well, if they can figure that out, that offense should be scoring lots of points.
Yes.
But it's just simply yet to be seen.
Yeah.
You can't bank on it.
Yeah. No, it's a wait and see mode for the Jags, as it's been for a few years. Everybody knows like a few years ago they had the 8-3 start and then they completely collapsed.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean I think a lot for Jags fans, you just want to see, I think even more so than literally everything else. I feel like if I was a Jags fan, I just again want to see the offense work. You want to see Trevor Lawrence just kind of look like just an above average quarterback. Like, I think that's where we're at. I think most of us right now are kind of like Trevor Lawrence is like by default kind of average-ish in the hierarchy, but has the upside to be more than that. And I think what we want to see is just like, okay, let's add in the upside in an offense that should work with extremely talented skill position players. Like you said, let's just score points. Have Trevor Lawrence look like he can take care of. Because, 2 years ago when we had Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk, everybody was kind of like, okay, now he's got the weapons. He's got Evan Ingram, he's got all these two receivers. And it just didn't work. Nobody was on the same page. And it's unclear how much that was personnel, how much of that was Peterson not running a great offense, not being a good coach, attention to detail. You just kind of hope with what you saw from Cohen last year with the Bucs that translates and you have a competent offense that you can move forward from.
Yep. And simply yet to be seen.
Yet to be seen. Yep, it's a question mark, but if any team in this division is gonna be able to compete with the Texans and try and make them feel like they actually have to earn it should be the Jags.
Absolutely. I don't think the other two even have a chance to do that. So.
No. And yeah, speaking of that, the Indianapolis Colts, they signed Daniel Jones to a 1-year, $14 million deal. He will be starting for them week 1 over Anthony Richardson. He was brought in to compete with Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson lost that battle, evidently, and will now be on the bench waiting to see if he gets his opportunity this year. From what Shane Steichen has said, sounds like Daniel Jones will have his fair shot to start well into the year. We're not talking about like a bye-week reevaluation. Again, we'll see what that actually means. Could just be coach speak, but it seems like Danny Dimes is going to be the guy. Week 1, that excites exactly 0 people in the entire world.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure.
0, maybe even a
So,
negative amount of people.
Yeah, it might have actually lost some people. They did add Charvarius Ward and Cam Bynum to the secondary. I think both of those are pretty solid signings, especially Ward, who was probably one of the most coveted corners in the league going into free agency, and Bynum, who's just been a very solid, smart safety for the Vikings the last few years. And then they add, I think the big thing is just the draft. They add Tyler Warren
Yep.
to
Which
finally give them a solid tight end.
that was a great pick. It
It
was a great
was. It
pick.
was a
Pretty
no
fantastic
brainer.
pick.
No brainer there. But other than that, you're not looking at a whole lot of big. I mean, those are all fine. I think fine decisions from a team building perspective, but you just don't. I don't think the draft was incredible outside of Tyler Warren.
Nope.
They add an edge and corner. Obviously, you're hoping that um, Latu, he was decent last year, but not what they hoped they would be. He would be rookie year, and so I think hoping that he can take a step forward on the defensive side of the ball. I feel like this roster overall is like pretty good. You got good skill position players, the wide receivers, tight end, running back. Some shakeup at offensive line, sending some guys to the Vikings. But who the fuck cares?
Yep. Who cares? I
It's
just
it's
simply
very yeah.
none of it matters when Daniel Jones is your starting quarterback.
Literally, you can just book it. It does not matter if Daniel Jones is your quarterback. I don't care that they almost made it to the playoffs with Gardner Minshew a few years ago. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Like, similar to the Giants, I guess, in the sense of like it's very much like a what do these people have to do to save their jobs? Like, what does that even look like? Like, do you have to make the playoffs with Daniel Jones for Steichen and Ballard to stick around? Or are they gone no matter what because of Jim Irsay dying, like, and Anthony Richardson not panning out? Does Anthony Richardson have to have a chance to play and look good for these people to stick around? Like, what even is the combination of specific player and team outcomes that saves these people their jobs? What does success even mean for a team where Danny Dimes is your best option at quarterback? You have a decent roster and potentially some lamed up coaches and GM.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I just think it's going to be a disaster for them. I think like despite the talent, I just it seems like it's been such an absolute nightmare from the top down for this organization for so long.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck retiring just like destroyed the Colts and
Yeah.
never figured it out. And
Yeah.
like if I don't know if this was my team going into the year. Really, I mean either way, Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson, like it's miserable. It's horrible because Anthony Richardson is just complete trash. He's awful. It seems
Seems
like
that
there's
way.
pretty much no chance for him. And Daniel Jones, we know what we're getting out of Daniel Jones.
Yeah, we do.
He's been in the league for 6 years, going on 7. We've seen it. What else is there to see?
I think the only hope is that just because Daniel Jones knows how to complete a football pass, like he can do that,
Yep.
especially in the short and intermediate field, semi consistently. That between that and his athletic ability, again, like the whole deal here was that Steichen, works with the Eagles during their Super Bowl run, their first Super Bowl run. They lose to the Chiefs, gets signed by, he gets taken by the Colts. They draft Anthony Richardson, and you're like, okay, Steichen, who had this great combination of passing and rushing from Jalen Hurts with the Eagles. You add Anthony Richardson, who's just an athletic freak. Okay, this makes sense. And maybe you hope that Daniel Jones, with the athletic upside that he has, Shane Steichen can at least work with that because Daniel Jones can operate an offense and complete a football pass to a level of consistency that Anthony Richardson still seems incapable of doing.
Yep.
And so you wonder, okay, maybe if that's what he's working with bare minimum, we saw what we got out of Gardner Minshew, you can make a playoff push with this roster.
But it's almost
But
why
yeah,
I guess obviously, yeah, it's like these guys want to keep their jobs. It makes
that's
sense,
it.
but it's just going to set this franchise back further if they
Exactly.
somehow make the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's the tough one. It's the same thing, I think, with the Giants. It's like, okay, you're pushing to have a decent record to save your jobs. But that is just not the best outcome for this team. At this point, this team needs a different quarterback. Unless Anthony Richardson figures it out, which I think both of us are kind of don't think is going to happen at this point. you're back to square one against, like you said, since Andrew Luck. Who's the quarterback for this team going to be? Is it going to be in the draft? Is it going to be in free agency? And in the end, you just have to hit on it, and it's tough. It's always tough to have these good rosters with just no answer at quarterback.
Yeah, because it
And,
really
and,
is.
and running out of time.
It really is like a pretty fun roster. It's kind of a shame. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you look at these receivers and these tight ends, and it's like, to me,
Really
I
good.
think it's pretty exciting.
Really
I
good.
mean, Pierce, A.D. Mitchell going into year
Josh-
2, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman. I mean, you've got Tyler Warren. JT is still great.
Really good.
And you've got like a lot of good players on your defense. At every position, at every level. But
Yeah.
just none of it matters.
Nope. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what Colts fans expect from this year. Obviously, I wouldn't expect much, but I imagine if you're a Colts fan with this roster, you just hope that with the coaching staff, you can squeeze the most you have out of any quarterback so far out of Daniel Jones, and that's a big, big, big if, and a tough place to feel like that's where your cards lay. So good luck to the Colts with that.
Yep.
For the Titans, obviously finished with the first overall pick last year. We're pretty terrible on both sides of the ball, especially on offense. Will Levis did not work out, to say the least. Was responsible for some of the most hilarious quarterback play of recent memory. Kind of rare you get a quarterback who can give you kind of multiple butt fumble level bullshit in one season.
Yep.
And so you get that first overall pick. It's kind of that idea of like, okay, what if you actually just like tried with this quarterback that you kind of said might as well, we drafted him, might as well try with him and see what happens, and you actually just are suck and you get the first overall pick. We get to see what happens when you actually just like kind of lean into the tank and just say, okay, it is what it is. If our quarterback sucks, he sucks. You draft Cam Ward out of Miami, a player that in other drafts maybe wouldn't be the first overall pick, or at least not the first quarterback. In this one, he definitely was the best quarterback, it seemed, prospect-wise, and therefore, especially with the Titans, will be the first overall pick. And with that, you got to be immediately, as a Titans fan, significantly more excited than you've been in a long time.
100%.
Because it's not Ryan Tannehill. We're far past the days of thinking that Marcus Mariota was going to be anything. Will Levis, had some exciting tools to him, but didn't have the kind of play style that Cam Ward does, where he plays loose, he plays comfortable, he lets it fly, he runs around. Not a crazy athlete, but a good enough athlete to create. And you just hope to see something exciting again. From the quarterback position for this team. Something that can see somebody who can actually kind of create and add and bring more, kind of elevate the offense in ways that haven't been possible in the past.
Yeah, I if I was a Titans fan, there's like no reason to not be more excited, like you said, than the last couple years. You got to be excited having a guy like Cam Ward.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I imagine he'll hopefully be pretty good. It might take a bit, and I don't think he's like, this roster could be better, but
Uh-huh.
he's got some people to help him out. I mean, Calvin Ridley is going to be eating, I think.
Yep.
They went out and got, old man Tyler Lockett,
They
who
sure
I
did.
have beef with, but it has nothing to do with any of this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Get Van Jefferson.
Yep.
And, I mean, Tony Pollard's coming off a really good year.
Yep.
And I think that it's like you got to taper your expectations, but got to imagine. I mean, I would hope they'll win more than 3 games this year.
For sure.
And I think they definitely will. Like, this team could end up, despite everything we said about like the Colts having a good roster, could maybe beat the Colts twice. Who knows? The
It's
Jaguars
possible.
also could, like, I just think it's totally possible, just given their track history, that or their track record that they could like lose tons of games that they shouldn't.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's like I feel like it's very possible if Ward pans out and even looks like halfway decent, they could be maybe a little bit sneaky. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. They're not. I'm not talking like they're not going to make the playoffs. I'm not saying any of that. But
No, for
um,
sure.
I think that hopefully we'll see some good things from the young players, and going into the next couple years, there will be even more reason to be excited. Being a Titans fan, which I know Titans fans probably haven't felt in a pretty long time, so
Yeah. Yeah. No,
there's a reason to be excited about the future.
yep.
It's just
They've,
not going to
their
be this year.
offensive line has been terrible for a long time. They've been investing steadily in that in the draft the last few years. Their biggest signing on free agency was Dan Moore, the tackle. I think they're definitely hoping that they can finally have something a little bit more like closer to average in that area, both for the sake of the run game, but also for the sake of their quarterback. Because yeah, that was just really rough last year. Like you said, they have Calvin Ridley. They added, in addition to Calvin Ridley, they have, like you said, Tyler Lockett. They added Gunnar Helm from Texas, the tight end, who I think
Oh
has a
yeah.
chance to honestly make some impact in his rookie year. They still have Chico, who I think is also still somebody that gets kind of forgotten about as a pretty solid tight end all around. Um, and then they drafted Alec Ayomanor from Stanford in the fourth round. Somebody a lot of people really liked and even liked earlier than the fourth round, who I think will probably end up being a contributor as well.
Yep.
So nothing like, and then they add Khalil Mullings, running back out of Michigan in the sixth round. They lose Tajay Spears to start the year, so
Yeah, and that helps too because they kind of like, regardless of Tajay or not, like didn't really have a bigger back where you're
mm-hmm.
getting that with Mullings, which will help,
Yeah,
especially in the
no,
red
that's a
zone.
good point. That's a good point. Yeah, so I mean, I think like the trajectory for this team is pretty okay. I think you just it's one of those teams where you're just kind of sitting back as a Titans fan and then turning on the TV and hoping you see Cam Ward just do some fun shit and give you the flashes that you're looking for, and hope that Bill Callahan as well can kind of show you why he was desired to come out of Cincinnati. Um, I think the defense has a chance. Last year they were not good, but they were frisky and have been, I think, for the last few years. And I think you just
Yep.
hope that they can keep building on that too. I don't think the defense will be very good, but I think they've been able to cause trouble to teams in the past, and you hope they can stick with that and just, yeah, you said, not win more than 3 games. I mean, if you end up in the bottom half of the league again and you get another top 16 pick, you're not going to be super bummed about that. At this point, you're not trying to make the playoffs, like you said, anytime soon, or at least not in the next year or two. But if Cam Ward looks like he can be a start next draft, you're going to be really starting to lock in on kind of finalizing what this might look like. But I still think they need some key younger pillar pieces on both sides of the ball that they don't really quite have established yet.
Yep. I agree. But it's trending that way.
Yeah, yeah. Um, with that, as far as the division, expect the Texans to win again. Jags to hopefully compete. I think both of us probably feel like the Colts and the Titans have a chance to kind of compete with each other,
Yep.
depending on how things go, depending on how, I guess, especially how each quarterback goes.
Yep.
But I think just for the sake of the roster, I'm probably going to say the Colts maybe still squeeze out a higher win total than the Titans, and the Titans, hopefully, maybe win 5 or 6 games and look like they're in the right direction.
Yep. I would agree with that. I do think though there's a very real possibility that Cam Ward just ends up playing better football than Daniel Jones, which could end up being the
Yes.
thing that makes them maybe win a. It could end up being like they literally win the same amount of games, but they'll have a tiebreaker because of the games they play against each other or something. I feel like that's kind of what it could come down to. But I definitely expect the Colts and the Titans to both have losing records, and the Jags hopefully shouldn't, but it's very possible that they do too. Honestly.
Yeah. No, for sure. Okay. Okay, the AFC East is what we'll do next. Um, Similar to the other division we still have left, I think a division that has been in a long time need of a challenger to the top spot.
Yep.
Bills have been kind of owning this division for the last 5 years. Plenty of years where we kind of said, okay, the Dolphins, it's their time. Oh, Rodgers and the Jets, they can push for it. Myself included, I thought that was possible.
I did too. I
Um,
did too.
but I think we've kind of learned our lesson, and we've gotten to the point where the dust has settled enough that we all kind of, I think, agree that the first team that we're going to talk about today, the Bills, they're the team to beat in this division for sure. I think there's an argument that they could be the team to beat in the conference again,
Yep.
despite how things played out last year. And Josh Allen, he got a redone deal. Um, they brought in Elijah Moore. They brought in Josh Palmer to kind of add to the wide receiver room. Still looking for that big kind of like number one star that they kind of lost when Diggs started to decline in his last year there. They had Joey Bosa at edge. Um, what else? Added Terrell Bernard at linebacker. Kept Davius White. Yeah, I mean, and then in the draft, what did they do?
Oh, they extended Shakir.
They did extend Shakir. That's right. Good call.
They got Joey Bosa.
Yep, said that. And then, yep, they drafted Maxwell Hairston, the corner out of Kentucky, in the first round. Another guy who's had some allegations against him, and but was an exciting prospect coming out of the draft. Looks like they mostly invested in the defense in the draft in the first rounds.
Yeah, they didn't take an offensive player until the fifth.
Yeah, uh, and so kind of shows you where their thought is at. I think the roster is still very solid on both sides of the ball. You have Josh Allen. He makes up for a lot. I mean, it's kind of a similar conversation to the Ravens, where you're just kind of like, figure it out. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's all there.
Yep.
I think the biggest things for me are, does one of, and I mean, my money is on Keon Coleman, but does one of Keon Coleman or Dalton Kincaid break out in a meaningful way into a primary receiving target on this football team? Because it's been Shakir, and Shakir is a very good player for what he does, but I know for a fact the Bills do not want to have to depend on him in the playoffs to be their number one guy.
100%.
And Keon Coleman played hurt for a good chunk of the year last year, kind of underreported. He looked good before he was hurt, and then kind of looked like shit ever since. It was like a wrist injury, I think. And I think I've heard from the Bills that they hope that and from what I've heard in training camp, he has improved and been a better player. And I think that's still what they're hoping for, is Keon Coleman can be a guy for them. But in the meantime, they add in Palmer and Moore to just kind of fill out the room and add some verticality and some consistency and some depth to the pass catching unit.
Yep. It's yeah. There's pretty much no reason to think that they won't just be in the dance again next year. It would be, like you said, nice to see if one of these receivers could emerge as the number one guy. Like you said, it definitely could be Keon Coleman. Like, it's possible. I think that's the best chance. Dalton Kincaid is still a head scratcher in terms of like how that hasn't really panned out the way everybody thought it would.
Yep.
And I'm not sure if it will. I'm going to be honest, but
Yeah.
we'll see. But regardless of all that, it's like, I don't know, James Cook is a beast. Ray Davis and Ty Johnson. It's like a really nice trio of running backs.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of interesting receivers. They did go get Elijah Moore. I always liked Elijah Moore. Granted, we haven't really seen what people thought maybe could have been possible there, and who knows if we will. But
since his rookie year and for the Jets, just hasn't really been there.
Yep. But still a lot of, I don't know, interesting receivers outside of like the ones we kind of already know. Which I mean, I guess at this point would be what Shakir and Coleman, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I mean, Josh Allen is gonna tear it up. I imagine. No
Hmm.
reason to really think he won't. But yeah, they just got to get over the hump. But the
Yeah.
reality is, I just think like head to head, you, I would think that the Ravens would beat this team. Um, guess it really could go either way, but I still like think if it's not the Ravens, that's gonna do it to them. I mean, can they beat Kansas City? Probably not. But
In the regular season, they can,
yeah,
but
but that doesn't matter. So
nope. Nope, it sure doesn't. Um, yes. No, I agree. It's you just yeah, you hope that they can. I mean, I don't pretend to know what it's going to take for them to beat those teams, except for just to play better. It's
yep,
just what it comes down to, and you can win and lose between some of the top teams in the NFL. You can win or lose any given week, and I do think that having just hopefully a more sure-handed, consistent receiving option. I remember, I think a lot of Bills fans remember the Dalton Kincaid drop in
yep,
the playoffs,
oh
and
yeah,
the year before that, you had the Stephon Diggs drop in the playoffs, which I think probably
yep,
played into that decision. And so you just want, the guy in the big games to be the go-to guy who will catch everything, and that's that. I think that's why the Ravens added DeAndre Hopkins. I think, and you're hoping that the Bills can make it work with what they've got here. But yeah, it just we'll have to wait and see.
yep,
But just one of those boring teams where it's wait till January to see how it plays out.
yep.
Okay, moving on to the Miami Dolphins, a team that has is in an extremely odd place in its team building and competitive timeline. They had added Zach Wilson as a backup. They added Nick Westbrook-Akine, who I think is a good piece to add, even if he is just another vertical guy. Uh, what
They
else
got
did they
Darren
do?
Waller.
They did. Darren Waller came out of retirement for to embarrass himself, I guess. And then they traded for Minka Fitzpatrick while trading away Jalen Ramsey, like we talked about before. Um,
Is that? I
yeah,
feel like that's kind of most of the stuff of note.
I might be missing something, but I think those are the big ones. They didn't really make any big splash plays in free agency that I remember. They drafted Kenneth Grant out of Michigan at 13th overall. Added a guard in the second round. Some more defense throughout the rest. Added Ollie Gordon he's from Oklahoma State.
That's my dog, by the way.
There you
So
go. And Quinn Ewers from Texas as a backup, who gets plenty of Tua comparisons. Um, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of people that are really down on this team, and I understand why. I'm definitely not high on this team. I do think that it's one of those things where we kind of get bored of the things about this team that work and have worked every year, which is Tua and Mike McDaniel and Tyreek and Jalen Waddle and last year Jono Smith
yep,
has worked pretty much every year on like a baseline level. Like the proof of concept is still there. The issue is that they have not been able to get over the top of better defenses, better teams down the road. And then I would say the defense on its own is probably going to be worse
yep,
this year,
definitely.
in which case you're hoping that the offense can put up 30 plus points a game every week, which is possible. I think that needs to be reiterated. I think that's just probably the main point that I want to make about the Dolphins is that despite everything that is working against them, kind of similar almost to the Cowboys, like the offense I think should probably still be explosive enough with a healthy Tyreek and a healthy Jalen Waddle and a healthy Devon Chan that it's still going to be a team that is probably going to win half its games at least.
Yeah, I like mostly agree with you. I just like I don't know. Maybe it's me being a pessimist. I just like think I just like Tua is capable. I just don't think he's the guy. I just don't know. I don't. I guess it's like obviously it's like how do you get you can't really in their position to make sense that they paid him, but it's like I just don't know how far they're gonna go when he's the guy. Because if you like if you could slot somebody better into that position and give a better quarterback a guy like Devon Achan, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. I mean, this team would be winning 12 games a year and be making deep playoff runs. But and there's other
Yeah.
reasons besides Tua. The defense is going to be
Yeah.
a big one, I think, this year. But and just like maybe it doesn't matter that much, but Tyreek Hill is just like such a headache,
That is
and
true.
I just like I don't know. I think I'd be really frustrated with that if I was a Dolphins fan, and
Yeah.
I I think a lot is gonna a lot of the future of this team might depend on kind of how this year goes as well. I mean, I know they've extended Waddle, but like if Tua stinks and Tyreek maybe let's say like he regresses or something stupid happens with I don't know. You never I feel like you kind of don't know with him
Yeah.
what's gonna happen. Like where do they go from here? I
Yeah.
really like don't know, which is a shame because there are plenty of, especially in the offense, like interesting pieces here. I mean, Achan is a stud, and
Yeah.
but I just like
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't know how much I believe. 'Cause especially
Yeah.
like I don't. They're not gonna beat the Bills. I just don't think they're gonna beat the Bills. And I think this year more than any other year, I think like the Patriots are potentially gonna be a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like it could just end up coming down to like splitting or losing all your games to your rivals that just like knocks them out of the conversation.
Yes.
And you can't with this kind of roster, you shouldn't be losing those games. And who knows? I could be wrong. It's possible, but I just like am not. I'm just not very high on them.
No, I mean I understand that. I can't really blame you. Uh I do think that like the things I'll say is one, the running game last year was terrible.
Yep,
And that
it
is
was terrible.
extremely uncharacteristic of a Mike McDaniel's offense with the talent they have on the roster. I'm sure that'll be a point of emphasis. We'll see what that actually means. But I do think that is like a thing that just did not work for them last year that they normally would depend on to be part of their offense. And I think the reality is like, I think Tua is always going to be a bit of a conversation topic. I think the way I see it is if you're going to keep Mike McDaniel, you have to keep Tua. And I think those two are tied to each other. And I struggle with the idea that you plug a different quarterback that isn't one of the top five into this offense and it works better. Like I don't know if I believe that. I think that's like a popular talking point, but I don't actually know if I believe that there are that many quarterbacks in the NFL that you plug into the Mike McDaniel Dolphins offense and it runs more efficiently. Obviously, you could wish that Tua had maybe better arm strength or could create better outside of the pocket. He was doing a bit more of that coming off of his injury last year. And I mean, you look at last year without Tua, they were scoring. I mean, they had a game against the Seahawks last year without Tua. They scored 3 points.
Yep, that's true.
And then Tua came back and they immediately were scoring, going from scoring 3 or 12 or 10 points to scoring closer to 30 most weeks. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean that means that they can make a deep playoff run. I just think the Dolphins have put themselves in a sticky situation where there is a proof of concept for this offense. It hasn't always come to fruition against better teams, and there are a lot of holes in other parts of the roster that are going to make it so it's hard, like you kind of are saying, to believe in them. I do think they are one of those teams that are as far as their ability to compete, it's wait and see mode. But
Yeah,
I'm pretty much penciling them in for like 8 wins at least. I mean, I just think about if this team had Tua the whole season for those like 4 games, maybe they're a 10-win team.
yeah,
Maybe
it's
they're in the
true.
playoffs.
It's true. It is.
And
It was. It could have been possible for sure.
and again, like, not saying they would have gotten the playoff win, but I do think the last year and the way that it went kind of colors the direction and the momentum of this team in a more negative light than will probably be come to fruition as far as the final record of this team. But I could also be wrong, and this shit could all crash and burn very easily, whether it's because of Tyreek or injuries or whatever.
Yep. Yeah.
That's enough about the Dolphins.
They're in a weird
Okay.
spot. They're in a weird
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah, I don't feel good about their long-term plan at all. I'm with you there.
Yep.
I think I just feel a little bit better about how they could compete this year. Definitely probably not taking the Bills' spot, but as far as being another wild card team, I think they're definitely in the mix. Next, let's talk about the New York Jets.
Oh man.
They fired Robert Saleh 4 games into the year last year. They brought in interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich, who is now with the Falcons. They bring in now Aaron Glenn from the Lions to clean up their culture problem, which they apparently had under Saleh. We'll probably never know fully what happened behind the scenes with everything with the Jets. I feel like we've already heard enough already that shit was a clown show. And whatever the owner's 16-year-old son was making roster choices, and I don't know. Not good.
Nope.
Um,
Really bad.
they signed Justin Fields to a 2-year deal, moving on from Aaron Rodgers. They could have brought Rodgers back. They decided, hey, we don't really think this is what we want to do.
Which I'm not saying the Fields replacement is the answer, but I think they had to move on from Rodgers.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. They show some promise in that they both extend Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner early.
Yep.
Take their offensive and defensive rookie of the years from a couple years ago and just say, hey, you guys are clearly two young pieces that we don't want to move on from. Keep them around. I think that's a great decision for the Jets. We'll see about them.
Yep. If I was Garrett Wilson, I would have gotten the hell out of there.
100%. 100%. But I guess, you get some of that extra New York money. It's not always the easiest place to move on from a financial perspective, even though you're also paying all that back in taxes.
I was about to say. But
they add Armand Membu in the draft, 7th overall, to a much-needed offensive line help
yep.
For the second year in a row. They add Mason Taylor at tight end, the only real investment they made in pass catching.
Yep, which I do like that pick. I like Mason Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can't believe that's pretty much all they did in terms of getting weapons on that offense.
Yep, that was pretty much it. And so you're looking at Garrett Wilson, Josh Reynolds they brought in, and Mason Taylor, and Brees Hall. And that's what you're hoping is catching the ball for you from a guy who is not great at passing the ball.
Nope.
And for that reason, I'm pretty low on this team.
Yep.
I think hiring Aaron Glenn was a good choice, but I don't think this year is I'm thinking of this at best as the first year of the Dan Campbell Lions era where they go 3 and whatever and just completely suck.
Yep.
And you just hope that it's just okay, it's the growing pains.
I agree. I just think going into the season with Justin Fields as your quarterback, there's literally no reason to be excited.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it simply does not matter. And yeah. I mean, your backup is Tara Taylor.
Fine backup, but a backup.
Yep, but not a backup who could come in there and maybe somehow tear it up and look great. In place of Justin Fields, so it's you're not better off without Fields necessarily either. It's just a bad quarterback situation across the board.
100%. Yeah. I think it's just one of those teams where a few years ago, even last year, we were kind of okay, plenty of talent on this roster, especially on the defense. Hopeful that they can kind of build on what they had the year before with Zach Wilson. Didn't happen. I think the most interesting thing with this Jets team in the next few years is going to be how they find their offensive identity.
Yep, especially
You're
with a
gonna
very defensive-minded head coach.
yes,
Once
so it'll
again,
be a question of who they bring in to be the. I don't remember who the offensive coordinator is right now.
I have no idea.
But obviously you hope you see good things from him. But even so, it's like how much can you really kind of get out of a year where Justin Fields is your guy? And in the end, I think they're going to be looking to get a young quarterback. I mean, I think that's the reality is they need to hit on the quarterback. They're just one of those teams that's going to be in limbo until they do.
Yep.
And so you kind of, if you're a Jets fan, you're probably hoping that this team sucks and Justin Fields sucks and
Yep.
underperforms and you get an early pick and you can hope to get a decent quarterback in the first round. I don't really know how else you feel like where else this really starts because this just feels like complete and utter limbo to me outside of hopefully the coaching staff and the two pieces that they signed.
Yep.
Which is again, it's fine. You're signing your young pillars. That's what you got to do. You got to identify them, sign them, get the coaches, set the culture. But Jared Goff isn't here yet. Like and there's a lot of other weaknesses on this roster. That's something that the Lions did not have, and you don't have Brad Holmes drafting for you.
Yep.
So good luck. As I've said to many of these teams, good luck, Jets fans. Might be a long season again.
Yep. I think it's very possible they win less games, which is crazy
Yes,
because they only won 5 last year.
I'll say it. Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than Justin Fields. I'll say it.
Yep.
I'll say it.
They had to move on, but it's just like they out of everything that was there, this is probably the worst option. Granted, there was no way it was ever going to be somebody like Sam Darnold or anything like that for obvious reasons,
No.
but like
No.
this is pretty bad. Things just look pretty bad across the board for this team.
Yep.
And they're in what's going to be, I think, a pretty competitive division. I mean, like we said, the Bills are probably just going to win the whole thing. Be a shocker if they don't, but I think the Dolphins and maybe the next team that we're going to talk about
Yeah.
are going to be pretty feisty.
Yep. No, I agree. Yeah, good luck finding that quarterback. In the meantime, won't be watching too many Jets games, I probably assume.
Nope.
Um,
No, thank you.
all right, on to the last team. Very, very, very interesting team. I think many people would call them one of the most interesting teams in the NFL going into this year. The New England Patriots, who were absolutely abysmal roster-wise last year. Started off with Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett gets hurt / sucks. They bring in their first-round pick, Drake May, and he plays pretty damn well
Yep,
for
sure
what he's
does.
dealing with. I think it always muddies the picture when you have a really bad roster because then you kind of look at some of the bad parts of Drake May's game and you say how much of that is him, how much of that is the situation. But it's better than having a bad situation and a bad quarterback and you're just like, okay, is the quarterback bad? We don't actually know because the situation is so bad. Okay, let's improve the situation so we can find out, okay, the quarterback is still bad. And, you do kind of the Bears, whatever thing where you just don't really know what is what. But at least coming out of the first year that Drake May has the talent to elevate a team that is bad.
Yep.
He might have some flaws that take him into even when he's good and the situation is better. We'll still see. But the highs were high and the flashes were there, and that's what you wanted to see. I mean, it's got to be best case scenario for a Patriots fan coming out of his rookie year, just feeling like, okay, the situation was objectively terrible, but he does seem like he is the guy.
Yep.
As far as the situation now, they signed Milton Williams to bring a lot to the defensive line. He was kind of the belle of the ball for free agency defensively.
Yep.
They added Morgan Moses to the offensive line. Garrett Bradbury, he sucks.
They
To
added
the
Carlton
offensive line.
Davis, which is a pretty
Carl
nice signing.
Davis. Yep, that's true. Added Matt Collins and Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
Diggs especially on a big deal to be the wide receiver 1 there for Drake May. And
They also,
yeah,
I feel like at least their first 3 picks in the draft, I just feel like they nailed them. They absolutely nailed
yes.
these picks. Like Will Campbell, Travion Henderson, Kyle Williams, just to me, just great
Yeah.
picks. I mean, I said obviously besides Genty, I was always a Trayvon Henderson guy.
Mm-hmm.
Was hoping
Mm-hmm.
Dallas would take him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be a total stud. I feel very, very confident in that. I think Kyle Williams could be a great receiving option as well outside of Diggs. I guess you have to see how Diggs looks coming off injury and whatnot, but I think
Yes.
you have Diggs. Let's say things pan out. You have Matt Collins, Kyle Williams looks good. There's some pieces on that offense to be pretty excited about. I also think even behind Trayvon Henderson, having your backup running backs be Gibson and Ramondre, it's like that's a pretty decent
Yeah,
tandem.
it's true.
And Efton Chisholm is gonna seemingly be the best receiver of all time. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
it there's like definitely a lot more for Drake May to work with this year.
Yeah. The Patriots are in that kind of fun spot that maybe the Titans will be in a year from now, where you're just kind of like, okay, we know we got the guy for now. It very much seems like we have the guy.
Yep.
Let's just like fucking figure it out. And there's no pressure for the Patriots to be competitive. I would say even in the next 2 years, there'll probably be some push if it seems like Drake May makes a step forward to really kind of lean in. But I don't know. I think if I'm the Patriots, I'm taking my time with this. I'm building. I'm just trying to succeed in the draft and then free agency, get the big pieces, and they've done that. Like you said, I agree. I think Will Campbell, Travion Henderson, Kyle Williams is a good start.
Yep.
I'm very excited about Kyle Williams. We'll see how good he ends up actually being, but it seems like he's got juice. I don't know, even in the preseason, even if he wasn't fully being utilized, it seemed like he had juice on the field, and that's something that this offense has desperately needed is
Yep.
just juice of some kind. I don't expect to get that from Stephon Diggs. I'm a little down on kind of what that ends up looking like. I think again, it's like a sure-handed receiver for Drake May to have. I think that's fine, but coming off of the injury, I'm skeptical about what the ceiling is for that combination. So you're really hoping that you get something from Kyle Williams, Demario Douglas, Keishon Boutte, and Efton Chisholm.
Yep.
I think you're hoping that. I think especially Kyle Williams and Efton Chisholm show you something. Javon Baker is still on this team from last year. Uh, their second round pick from last year, blanking on his name,
Oh, it's
the
Raps
wide
for buddy,
receiver,
right?
Jalen
Polk,
Polk.
Jalen Polk.
He is out for the season after having an abysmal rookie year.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's toast.
so it seems like he's toast, which is tough, especially when again you move on from Bill Belichick, who's notoriously terrible at drafting wide receivers. You take your first shot. Seems like it was a miss there too. Not a great feeling if you're a Patriots fan, but I think Kyle Williams is the guy that you're hoping in the third round is like, okay, we can draft a good wide receiver. Um, so, and yeah, I think like you kind of were pointing to, Travion Henderson kind of has to be he's the shiny new toy that you're hoping is going to be able to help elevate the offense with Drake May. You hope the offensive line shows progress. I think you're just hoping for progress across the board for this team. I've heard some people get really, really bullish on this team and say they could be like a 9-win team and be second in the division and make the playoffs. And like, I'm not taking that off the table. I don't think the roster is anywhere close to there yet. I think maybe if Drake May does take a step forward and continues to elevate this team, maybe for sure that's possible. But I think for me, the expectations are just look like we're building something here.
Yep.
Let's just look like we're continuing to move forward and we're not we're not doing a one step forward, two steps back with the draft and with free agency. You just want to see things to progress in some of those key areas that were completely bottom of the league dog shit last year.
Yep. Yeah, I think they're gonna be fun. I think
Yeah.
they're gonna win some games they shouldn't and lose some games they shouldn't.
Yep.
But I also just think they've got to win more than 4 games this year. Like they got to be. I just imagine they're going to be quite a bit better.
Yep. I mean, we haven't talked about it yet, but Mike Vrabel
Yep.
brought in as the head coach. You get Josh McDaniels, who has been a terrible head coach, but a competent OC in his career. I mean, competent to very good, to give him full respect. And so you hope obviously the Patriots hope with some more known quantities. I mean, I was very against the Mike Vrabel signing in Tennessee. I thought that was ridiculous considering how much Vrabel was elevating. It seemed like that roster year to year, especially on defense. If he can elevate this defense, as well as just set a culture in general for this team, and Josh McDaniels can bring something a little bit more interesting and better than what Scott Van Pelt was bringing last year. Scott Van Pelt? No. What was his name?
Uh,
Max Van Pelt?
oh, jeez.
Patriots offensive
Scott Van
coordinator.
Pelt's the ESPN guy, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, no, that's not it. Patriots OC. We're very prepared here on this podcast. Alex Van Pelt.
Okay, yeah.
That was close.
Yeah, you're close. You're close.
I'll take it. But that shit was very vanilla and not very not the kind of stuff you're going to build on. So, yeah, I mean, we're very far removed from the Tom Brady era now, and the Bill Belichick era is looking further and further in the rear view mirror. But I know a lot of people were excited about oh man, first year of Mac Jones, we make it to the playoffs. We got the guy right after we got rid of the last guy. Didn't work out that way, but all things considered, you still didn't seem like that big of a gap between your last guy and your new guy. So feel good about that, Patriots fans. A lot of teams would wish that they were where you are.
Facts.
So as far as final rankings, I've got Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, Jets. I'm going to take the Patriots over the Jets because of the quarterback, and I think that's literally it.
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree with you. I have them ranked the same way.
Okay, last division. We left a doozy for the last one. AFC West.
This is going to be. I mean, it was last year. This is going to be a bloodbath of a division.
Very well could be. Chiefs coming off of a Super Bowl appearance. Obviously, I think we're all probably on the same page as far as assuming that again these guys will be the de facto winners of the division until proven otherwise. I think there's despite how last year the Chiefs' record was ridiculous. They won a lot of one-score games by some bullshit.
Yep.
We all remember the Raiders game.
Yep.
The Broncos missing the field goal.
Yep.
And the Panthers kept it close as well towards the end. A lot of games this team could have lost that they won, but that's last year. And this year, I feel like they're on track to be better.
I do too. I think there's honestly no reason to not think that, and it's kind of terrifying.
They clearly struggled on the offensive line down the stretch, especially in the Super Bowl. They addressed that even though they got rid of Tooney. They added in Trey Smith, Jalen Moore. I think they want to feel good about that offensive line, similar to how they did coming off of the Bucs Super Bowl that they lost. We kind of seen this as a pattern now. You go to the Super Bowl, you lose the Super Bowl because of the offensive line. You fix the offensive line, and you're back in it. Seems to be the Chiefs' kind of scenario. And so you hope the offensive line is better. You lose Rashee Rice for the first 6 weeks of the season, but you also didn't have him for most of the season last year and still managed to get where you did with him for the back half of the season. They were looking like a buzzsaw when he was on the field.
Yep.
And he's going to be very healthy by the time he's back. So we'll see for the first 6 weeks of the season what this looks like. You bring back Isaiah Pacheco as well, who they lost. They had no explosive runs with Kareem Hunt, pretty much, literally zero. Just didn't happen. You at least get some more with that, with Pacheco. Another year for Xavier Worthy.
Yep, who will probably just be better.
Yep, didn't mention they added Josh Simmons in the draft, offensive tackle. That has looked great so far, and I've heard really good things about. Added Jalen Royals as a wide receiver in the 4th round. Rashard Smith as a running back.
I think they're pretty high on him.
Yeah, so as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to really sit too much on this team. Sky's the limit, as usual.
Yep.
I kind of think they're due for a bounce back year on offense, especially when Rashee Rice is back.
I agree. I think it's scary. I
Yep.
think once again the whole league should be terrified of this
Yep.
team.
They got the punt god Matarazia
Yep.
again. Um, yeah. I mean, Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo. It's just not much to really be down on here, except for Travis Kelsey losing a step again, which I don't know how much that's even going to matter. Again, when Rashee Rice is back.
Yep.
Um, they made the AFC Championship every year.
Yep. And I think they're gonna do
Yeah.
it again.
Yeah, moving on. I don't have much else to say about it. Some teams will probably try and be down on this team coming off the Super Bowl loss, but not me. I'm
Nope.
not. I'm not. I'm not that stupid. Um, all right. Next, we got the who finished second.
The Chargers.
Chargers. Chargers finished second. Los Angeles Chargers had an interesting year. By my estimate, overperformed by actually making the playoffs.
Yeah, we both weren't super high on what they were gonna look like, but
Nope.
Jim Harbaugh proved us wrong, and I guess we shouldn't have doubted him.
I Yep, and I suppose I won't again.
I won't either.
I will say, I think probably the thing I'll jump to first. The defense last year, I think, overperformed tremendously, and I suspect that they will come back to earth this year with the talent on the roster, and that will lead to maybe some of the problems we were projecting for them last year that didn't come to fruition. Could be wrong. Maybe the defense stays within the same range as they were last year, but I mean they were one of the top three defenses EPA wise towards the back end of last year. Some of that was playing some bad teams. You know, they were one of the teams that played the Jags when Bryce Young was dog shit.
Yep.
But on defense, I think there's room for regression. On offense, I think many people, myself included, are kind of like hopefully better, but no guarantee at this point.
Yeah.
I think the most clear hope is that Omarion Hampton on his own gives you significantly more juice in the run game than J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards gave you last year.
Yep. Yeah, because I mean, you've got behind Hampton, you have Noah Nagy, and
Mm-hmm.
you've got Hassan Haskins, and like that's it. Which like, I like the idea of the Hampton Harris tandem before he blew his face off with fireworks.
Yeah.
Which like, if that doesn't matter, then I still like it. I do, but
Uh-huh.
I just like, I have to imagine that's gonna matter a lot. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I mean at wide receiver, it's like you bring back Keenan Allen. You're going in
Sure.
year two of Lad McConkey, which is great.
Yep.
Um,
He was awesome. He was awesome last year.
he was, and he'll probably hopefully be better, which is cool. That's pretty exciting.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't even know how much room he has to be, but that much better than he was last year.
Yep.
Especially without again, kind of what you were probably moving towards, which is that they need another guy.
Yep. And I mean they drafted Trey Harris, but
Yeah.
I I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about it. Um,
Yeah. He's a vertical guy, which is what they needed,
yep.
but you don't know. You have Quentin Johnston. You lost Trey Palmer, which maybe seems like a small loss, but he was a pretty consistent guy for them
Yes, he was.
last few years as a depth piece.
Yep. But
Yeah, I don't know.
I still think this team is in a good position to probably make the playoffs again.
Yeah, no, I would probably agree. I think it might be a little scarier this year than it was last year. Like I don't. That's where I'm just like I think even. I guess I struggle with the kind of like the. Is this team actually better than it was a year ago? Is this team actually going to win more games than it did a year ago? I think because of how I feel about the defense, it's just kind of hard for me to get there.
Yeah.
like the next team we're going to talk about, I think there's a lot more reasons to assume they will leapfrog
I agree.
this team. Which then immediately, as soon as you're the third team in the division, you're trying to fight for a wild card spot in the AFC.
It's tough.
The Broncos. If the Broncos weren't playing Carson Wentz last week of the season, they may not have made it. So,
Exactly.
um, yeah, it's tricky. They did sign Mekhi Becton as an
Yep.
offensive guard, but they lost Rashawn Slater, which is huge.
Yep. That's pretty massive.
Yeah, and that's just kind of again, that's where I kind of say, okay, can Marion Hampton on his own elevate the running game? I think at least a little bit, yes, because he is a freak. Uh, I mean, as far as what you're looking for physically from the position, he's pretty much exactly what you want.
Yep.
There's some limitations otherwise, but he can catch passes. He's a great pure runner, extremely athletic, and you draft him in the first round. You assume kind of similar to Henderson, you're going to see a lot built around him and what he can do. And so there's a chance that a lot of how much the offense works will depend on how explosive and consistent he is, and take some of the pressure off of McConkey and Herbert in the passing game. Yeah, because I think that'll just be huge.
Yep.
But otherwise, not a lot of changes. You're just kind of hoping for another year of Jim Harbaugh culture and some, I think, just more explosives on the offense, and hopefully the defense can kind of stay afloat long enough to keep them in it.
Yep.
Okay, on to the next team, which is the Denver Broncos. Very, very exciting team. Kind of surprised last year. Bo Nix struggled quite a bit at the start of the year. Kind of put it together towards the end. Nothing too crazy. A lot of passes behind the line of scrimmage, like he did in college, but still had some other stuff in there as well. Incredibly good offensive line. Always helps. But really the story is how incredible the defense was,
Yep.
especially down the stretch. Another team that could very easily have the best defense in the league this year, especially after adding Jade Barron in the first round.
A steal.
Yep, you got to feel really good about that. You lose Javonte Williams, replace him with R.J. Harvey. R.J. Harvey, very exciting player, very explosive. Hoping that he can play a big role here. You draft Pat Bryant in the third round, bigger-bodied, explosive guy, with just kind of Cortland Sutton and Marvin Mims and Evan Ingram, who they brought in free agency.
Yep. Which I
I
that was a pretty nice move for them too.
You just kind of feel like all around, Sean Payton is trying to build something a little bit more comprehensive offensively for Bo Nix, which is great. I think this is a team that makes sense to be high on going into the year.
I feel like for me, they're, even though I think most people are expecting them to be pretty decent, I feel like they're like maybe my dark horse team this year. I just feel like they're putting together something real nice here, and there's pretty much across the board on both sides of the ball. It just seems like it's going to be better than last year, which is pretty crazy. Bo Nix is going into year 2 under Peyton, and you're getting, I don't know, I think a lot more interesting at running back. The Cortland Sutton Bo Nix connection is just going to be better. I think there's a lot to like here. It's just a shame that that they play in this division where it's really tough. Where, like, realistically, I think almost any of these teams except for maybe Kansas City could probably split, with their opponents. I think it's a realistic thing to assume, but I don't know. I'm pretty high on them, and I think even if, we'll see what we get out of the offense, but I think there's lots of reasons to like what we see there. But the defense is gonna consistently probably bail them out, even if things don't go their way.
Exactly. Yeah. You set yourself up to a very high floor situation.
Yeah.
Should have mentioned they also added Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa
Yeah,
Hufanga
like
on the defensive side of the
wow.
ball. Yep. So you kind of got a better second level of the defense there. Um, yeah, I would say for me, the kind of, and, people who know me aren't surprised by this. I still have doubts about Bo Nix as a franchise guy. I think he was very fortunate for all the conversation last year going into the draft about how Caleb Williams and JJ McCarthy were going to the two best situations in football for rookie quarterback. I mean, there's no denying the fact that Bo Nix got by far the best offensive line.
Yep.
It's one of the best offensive lines in the league last year. And Bo Nix is still, including last year, very bad under pressure. And so the question is, if the offensive line takes a step back, which is possible, very possible, do you see more variance in Bo Nix's play? And do some of the issues that people had with him pre-draft come out more in the pros when things aren't so perfect and pristine for him? Be it back there, just doing whatever. That's really my question. I don't know how much that'll come to fruition this year. But that's just a question for me as far as down the road. If this team is kind of building to compete with Kansas City, how much Bo Nix is going to be able to handle when inevitably some things start to fall apart.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay,
I just simply I don't think this year is the year that we see too much of that though. It is possible. I think down the line you make a good point, but it seems like they'd mostly kept that line in tandem
yeah,
and just bolstered what's around it. So I mean,
for
we'll
sure.
see, but I definitely am pretty optimistic on what they're going to look like this year.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, and then finally we got the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, traded for Geno Smith, added Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly to their coaching room. Pete Carroll, who wasn't doing shit since being fired from the Seahawks, and Chip Kelly, who just came from, was it
Uh,
Ohio State or UCLA?
I think UCLA
UCLA.
sounds right to me.
UCLA. Yeah, not Ohio State. UCLA. Yeah, I think that's right. And yep, they added Raheem Mostert. They added.
Oh
They
no,
extended
it was
Max.
Ohio State.
Oh
He was at
God,
UCLA before that. He was the head coach.
God, I'm so smart. They added Max Crosby, or they extended Max Crosby. They cut Christian Wilkins because
Yep.
he kissed homie on the head.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and other unreported activities in the locker room. Um, who,
Probably shouldn't
who
be
knows?
laughing at this, but it's just
I
such
don't.
a
I don't
crazy
know.
story.
That's all I've heard is that he kissed a guy on the forehead. I don't know. Like, what am I supposed to think? Like,
Yeah.
you tell me when
Oh
there's more to report.
man.
Uh, they signed Jamal Adams and Jeremy Chin, so kind of adding some veteran defensive players. I think a few of whom have history with Pete Carroll. Uh, and then in the draft, they add Ashton Genty. They
Yep.
add Jack Beck. They add Dante Thornton in the fourth round, who seems like he'll be a player.
Yeah. It kind of seems like Beck has like not been that good, but
Yeah, we'll
Thornton has
see.
been
We'll
good,
see.
and who knows?
Yeah. Um, and then they're still in a situation with Jacoby Myers as of recording that has not been resolved yet. As far as will he sign some kind of an extension or will he be traded since he has requested a trade.
Yeah. They added Amari Cooper though, so it doesn't
And
matter.
that's right.
Legend.
Yeah, I might still be inclined to assume that Jacoby Myers at this point is maybe a little bit better than Amari Cooper
I
based off of
I
how he was
definitely
used in
think so.
Buffalo last year, but
I definitely think so. I agree with you.
we'll see. Uh, yeah, very interesting team. Very interesting team. Because I think the immediate additions, the kind of microwave additions at running back, quarterback, head coach, offensive coordinator, you get Brock Bowers last year, who's immediately been a star, superstar maybe.
Yep.
You just kind of assume there's like something good is going to come out of that. Like there really doesn't feel like there's quite the same degree of like question marks around all the new. on this team. At least not for me, because of like the high quality and high level of provenness of people like Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, Geno Smith.
Yep.
Ashton Jennings seems pretty foolproof, and like I said, all the things I just said. Like on offense, it just seems like there's a pretty safe floor and potentially a kind of high ceiling.
Yep. I agree. Underratedly high.
Yeah. Defense, who knows?
Yeah.
That one's kind of that might be like definitely the kind of clear like blinking red alarm that says this is not a team you should be betting on to win a playoff game.
Yep.
But I think they've got a wild card in them. I think it's definitely the higher end of their outcomes, but I do think wild card is very much in the range of possibilities for this team.
Yep. It's crazy that I think it's extremely realistic that all three playoff teams, or all three wild card teams, come out of the AFC West this year. I think it's like very realistic.
Yeah. No,
that
I think you're right. I think you're right. Yeah, because if the Jags don't work out, if the Bengals can't stay competitive, if the Dolphins don't compete well, against good teams, I mean, yeah, there you go. So I don't know. Maybe if we were both kind of smarter and knew more about like scheme and Chip Kelly and all this stuff, we could talk about what this could look like. I just kind of feel like the talent is there,
Yeah.
but not the talent to like kind of like we just said compete for the big one.
Yeah.
More of a team kind of similar to again the Panthers, where you're kind of like, unlike the Panthers, where there's more question marks about will this carry over. It's more like, okay, if all these pieces kind of fit like they should, a team that is a wild card that could very easily just take some games away from some teams, some good teams. I mean, I feel like that's been the case even the last few years with like fucking Aiden O'Connell. Like, I feel like
True.
they've been able to like come close. Again, they were so close to beating the Chiefs last year.
Yep.
They've been able to steal some games, and I just feel like that's very much what they're kind of in for this year.
Been able to steal games with just a worse coach, a worse quarterback,
Much
worse
scope.
worse offensive weapons. Like, there's just no reason to think that they're just not going to be a better team, even if the defense sucks.
Yep. Yeah, and so yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, it's always interesting when you have like such an old head coach coming in and an old quarterback for something that's basically a rebuild.
Yep.
It's like a really unique situation where they're just basically like microwaving a potential playoff team, and just hoping, I guess, that they see the proof of concept this year and can plug and play some of those extra stars on the defensive side in the next few years. I guess that's the hope, and I don't hate the idea. I don't know if it'll work. It doesn't. I don't think it's worked very often. But
then it would be different. But when it's Pete Carroll, who has a history with Geno Smith, there's a lot of reason for optimism.
Got Tom Brady with the ownership, for whatever that's worth. Yeah, no, it's just kind of an really interesting case study, coming off of so we didn't really talk about it, but really was just kind of an afterthought of a year for the Raiders last year.
Awful.
Yeah, I mean they signed Gardner Minshew as their starter week 1. I mean that pretty much tells you everything you need to know about. They got what they paid for. Yeah, and so as far as how this division's going to turn out, I think we both would probably admit we're not super confident about exactly how this will work. But I would say for now, I'm kind of in the bank of Chiefs on top, Broncos maybe, I think they could make a push this year. They could even win the division. I think it's possible. And then from there, I honestly think it's kind of close between the Raiders and the Chargers. That's probably kind of controversial. But like I think Chip Kelly could just be a much better offensive coordinator than Greg Roman.
Yeah.
And like even if Herbert is obviously a much better quarterback than Geno Smith, that hasn't always kind of manifested itself in games. And
True.
so
God, that's true.
And I mean, here's an interesting question: who would you take, Brock Bowers or Ladd McConkey?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough one. That's legitimately a tough question.
It's a tough question. I feel like I lean toward Brock though.
And even yeah, you start there, and depth wise, I'm already probably taking the Raiders over the. Assuming they keep Jacoby Myers, I'm definitely taking the Raiders' depth at receiver over
Yep.
the Chargers. I don't know. It's just kind of tricky. But the Chargers' defense might end up being obviously significantly better. So
Yep.
all I have to say, I think I'm going to take the Chargers over the Raiders, but it's very close.
Yep. Yeah, I pretty much got it the same way. Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers, Raiders. There is a world in which the Broncos could maybe somehow win the division, but I'm not gonna pick
No,
somebody but Kansas City to do that.
for sure, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the four divisions. And now, as we kind of talked about, we want to add on some of the end of the year awards, kind of predictions for that. All kind of the AP key awards, MVP, offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, rookies, and coach,
Yep.
or and comeback player of the year. I guess we can add that on in as well. Okay, so I guess let's start with the big one, MVP.
I I feel like it's I this is like the least interesting answer ever, but I feel like it's probably just going to be Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I think that's obviously a very good pick. Yeah, I struggle with this one this year. I definitely think Lamar and Josh Allen will probably just automatically be in the conversation. You kind of wonder if the Bengals defense is actually just kind of like bad and not terrible. If Joe Burrow,
Yeah,
if they make the playoffs, I think last year if the Bengals were on pace to make the playoffs all year, Burrow is probably just like in the conversation the whole year
100%.
as well because he played at that level. Uh, there's a part of me that wants to say someone like Jaden Daniels,
Yeah,
like because
it's
just like
definitely possible.
if I think if they like I don't like I think if he wasn't a rookie last year, he probably would just have been in the conversation as
True.
well.
That is true.
Um,
I
but I
also
think
think. No, sorry, go ahead.
oh no, you go ahead.
I was just going to pivot because I had a
Mhm.
thought, but no, I do think you're right about Jane Daniels. I just like. I hope. I don't know. I hope there's a bit of regression or figuring him
Yeah,
out this year, but that's just me.
yeah. No,
Um,
I get you.
I also think, like, and I think people maybe just take this for granted, but I think there's a real chance that Patrick Mahomes is right up there this year, too.
Yeah, no, I thought about that as well. In fact, that probably, end of the day, that probably just would end up being my pick, just because I am pretty high on the Chiefs this year and have kind of talked about how I think Patrick Mahomes has been a little underrated the last few years just because of how the offense has gone. But
Yep.
but the offense would have to change, I think, is the thing. Because I think the problem with the way the offense has been the last few years is that Patrick Mahomes just isn't being asked to do like Patrick Mahomes MVP stuff,
Yep.
whereas Josh Allen and Lamar are. Uh, yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting race this year. If it'll just be between the top quarterbacks again, kind of like the top three or four that we've all established, or if there'll be any. Obviously, Jaden Daniels would be probably the most likely disruptor.
Yep.
Uh, okay, offensive player of the year. So basically the conversation we were having, but not quarterbacks. Um, I think I think it's easy to just kind of pick Jamar Chase again.
Yep.
I think Bijan is interesting if he kind of gets more usage.
Yep.
And
I
the
think it's
the
very
Falcons are good.
possible.
I know a lot of people are kind of high on him.
I'm gonna make my one outlandish statement here that I have to make as a Cowboys fan,
Yeah,
but I think there's a real possibility here that it could also be CeeDee Lamb.
it's
Think
his
this
turn.
is
It's
like
his time.
the most possible it's ever been because
Yep.
healthy Dak, obviously, hopefully a bolstered offensive line, help with George Pickens so that he's not getting doubled and tripled every play. Which, despite that, he's still putting up 1,500 or like
Yeah.
1,500 yards every year. But we're going to be down every single game because our defense is going to be terrible. So
Yeah.
There's like off chance here that CeeDee Lamb is putting up like 1,800 yards and like 20 touchdowns. Like it really could happen. It's I think it's possible.
Oh, for sure. No, I get it. I get it. I think it makes a lot of sense to pick him, especially out of the wide receivers. Like, obviously, I could say Justin Jefferson, but even I could say there's reasons for why that might not happen. Yeah, I mean, I think those obviously. I don't know. I could say like Saquon. Kind of seems unlikely that a running back will kind of repeat uh, in that sense. I mean, it's possible. No reason to think his usage will go down,
Yep.
but we'll see. Obviously, he kind of had to have like a ridiculous outlier season, but he's in a good situation again. So, but he also has to not get hurt at all
Yeah.
again, which
Exactly.
is kind of unlikely. And so that's kind of where you throw that or Derrick Henry out there. Seems like it's likely to be one of the top receivers: Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Jefferson, or yeah, you throw in Bijan. Uh, yeah, yeah, and then defensive player of the year. I I well, Micah's gonna suck, so let's just throw that one out.
Amen.
Don't even have to worry about him. For me, I don't remember who you picked last year. It might have been this person. I think it might have been, but I'm kind of between like literally just Aiden Hutchinson and who I picked last year, which was Will Anderson.
Yep. Those were literally this year the two players that were on my mind as well.
So never wrong, just early. Uh,
I think
I mean,
outside of them, like it could maybe be Pat Sertan again, but
yeah,
I don't know.
corner is tough. Corner
It's
is a tough one to repeat on.
Yep.
I mean, it's almost more likely for Sauce Gardner to have like a bounce back year than it is for or Stingley or something, right?
Yep.
Than for Sertan to just repeat. But I mean, Hutchinson was on track last year before he got hurt. Will Anderson had a monster year, and I think he's still an ascending player
Yep.
on what will be one of the league's best defenses. Uh, yeah, those seem like the obvious choices.
I I feel like there's also maybe a chance here that it could be somebody like Jared Verse.
Yeah,
Possibly. It's like
yeah,
he'd really have to break out, but I think like out of anybody that could, that might be the person.
he's a beast. He's a beast. I don't know how much room there is for like growth for him, but he is a beast and definitely could make some noise. I agree. Um, and that's obviously just leaving out the other kind of sack leaders that we project, like TJ Watt, Miles Garrett.
Yep.
Those could always be options, but I don't necessarily think that either of them are in a position to like have their best years
I
this
agree.
year. Okay. Um, Offensive rookie of the year. Interesting one
Yep.
because we got a few running backs between Genty, Hampton, should both Henderson should all get lots of usage. We can throw in Judkins there too. Travis Hunter will depend on how much offense he plays.
Yep.
Not
I
a lot of other wide receivers, maybe Tet, but I kind of doubt he's going to have that kind of season.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I feel like it's probably just going to be Genty.
I think it's Genty or Hunter. That's
Yep.
kind of how I feel. And maybe some room for Hampton if he really is just like used as a workhorse
Yeah.
from the
And
beginning.
there could be a world in which it could be Travion Henderson as well, but
Yeah, for the
I
same
think
reasons, for
Genty
sure.
is probably the safest bet. Like
Yeah.
he's just gonna get worked. He's gonna get the ball so much.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe if they like absolutely exceed expectations, it could be like Cam Ward, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah. I think he needs to be able to have a pretty special season, and he doesn't really have the infrastructure for that.
Yeah,
Um,
they'd have to like make the playoffs for that to happen, and I
Pretty
just don't
much.
think there's any path in which
Yeah.
they do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think, with Travis Hunter, we can kind of talk about offensive player of the year and defensive player of the year in theory. I kind of think definitely offensive player of the year is the more likely option. And with just how special he is as an athlete, I think it's just kind of as good a bet as any that he's going to be so impressive and have those flashy plays that people are going to remember.
Yep.
That he could definitely win it very easily. Yeah, so that would. I think Hunter is probably my pick in the end of the day. Assuming the Jags just don't completely fuck up how they use him. But otherwise, Genty, I think he has probably the best bet.
Yep.
Um,
Defensive Rookie of the Year is pretty interesting.
It is. It is. I don't know what the odds are of this right now.
It's gotta
I'm
be
assuming
Abdul
Abdul.
Carter.
Honestly, we could probably just say it's Abdul Carter. I don't really know how I can pick anybody else.
I hope it's not.
For sure.
But I feel like the only other option here maybe is Travis Hunter. But
Yes.
I just don't think we're gonna see those reps, enough of those reps to see that happen.
Yeah. The top odds for offensive rookie of the year, it goes Genty, then Cam Ward, then Travis Hunter, and then a sizable gap before Ted McMillan. And then for defensive rookie of the year, it goes Abdul Carter, then Travis Hunter, and then it gets kind of evens out. You got Jalen Walker on the Falcons, which definitely, you could look at the Falcons' edges because they're both new guys on a team that has no competition.
Yep.
For sacks.
True.
Definitely a chance there. People got Mike Green on the Ravens, maybe Mikael Williams for the Niners, maybe, Mason Graham. Like all those top drafted guys could be stars. I just kind of feel like doesn't feel quite as likely. I think Abdul Carter just kind of has to be the no-brainer.
Yep.
Unless he disappoints. Because, it seems like he's a beast already. I don't know. And he was by far the best defensive player in the draft. Besides Travis Hunter at corner. So
100%.
Okay, and then that leaves comeback player of the year. Which
Yep.
who even and remember how they're treating the rules now, so we can't take anybody who just learns how to play football. Because we also have to do coach of the year. But comeback player of the year.
I think there's a real possibility that our quarterbacks could be it.
Oh.
I think there's a possibility it could be Dak. There's a possibility it could be JJ.
That would be funny. A fucking first-year quarterback winning comeback player of the year because he's just like the first rookie quarterback in ages not to play his first year from injury.
I also
that is interesting. I didn't thought of that.
Maybe Aiden Hutchinson as well.
That's actually that's probably a really good pick because if he goes on the defensive rookie of the year campaign that we think he will, I think that's probably pretty safe.
Yep.
Unless Dak kind of has another MVP season, which is possible.
God, I hope.
Yeah, I think that's a good thought.
There's a path for JJ too. Because if the Vikings are sweet, it's probably going to be pretty hard to say that it's not him.
Yeah. No, coming off a knee injury, losing your first year of football experience. No, I think there's a chance for sure. Like that. Yeah, I don't really know if there's really much else in that category as far as players that got super ouched that are notable.
Maybe Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, yeah, if he has a great year and those other players don't.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thought. It's possible. Definitely probably inherently a more uphill battle as a running back. But yeah, it could happen. And I think that leaves us with coach of the year.
Yep.
Which I did say Kevin O'Connell towards the end of last year. I did say hey, if this Sam Darnold stuff works out, it could happen, and it did. It always seems like it's the teams that overperform.
Yep.
And so thinking about teams that could overperform, maybe you could take Gannon from the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Maybe would be an interesting one.
If they're good enough, it could be Vrabel. For New
Vrabel
England.
is a good one. Yeah.
I think
the
they're as good
the
as
odds-on favorite. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think if they're as good as I think they might be, Sean Payton could just win it as well.
Yes, my thought was the Bears, and Ben Johnson is probably the odds-on favorite if I had to look it up.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's true. That
I
is
would guess
that's
I would guess he's the favorite, just from the fact that yeah, he is. It's Ben Johnson, then Mike Vrabel, then Liam Cohen, which that's another good one.
oh yeah
Then Kellen Moore, which good luck.
yeah
Uh,
that's not happening, buddy.
no, yeah, I think Ben Johnson and Vrabel and Cohen. I like Gannon as a dark horse if the Cardinals end up overperforming and get to the playoffs. Otherwise, though, if the Jets are really good, obviously Aaron Glenn could do it.
Yep. Which I just don't think is gonna happen. But yeah.
No, I think that's probably the gist of it. I think there's obviously kind of a funny. I don't think it will actually happen. I wouldn't bet on it, but obviously, like you were saying, if JJ ends up looking really good, does Kevin O'Connell end up being in the conversation again?
True.
Um, but
Possible,
probably not.
but
It's
probably not.
possible, but usually you just kind of get your one. Um, and then I guess if the Colts are like overperform, do you start like if Daniel Jones looks like the best version of himself, kind of the way that Dable won it when he got the best out of Daniel Jones 3 years ago?
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe. I
it's
think it's an
possible.
interesting one to throw out there, just because I don't know. I like Steichen. I'm like not really out on him as a coach. Just kind of seems like he got handed a raw deal. Uh, so
Yep.
all right, and then that leaves us with the last big one, which is the Super Bowl prediction.
I
Haven't really thought about this that much. I'm not gonna lie.
haven't thought about it a ton either, especially when my team is probably not gonna even sniff it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
but I feel like I've got an answer, and I'll lay it out there first, I suppose.
yeah.
Um,
Go for it. I got
I
mine.
feel like I have predicted one of these teams like every single podcast that we've ever done, but I think it's probably going to be Chiefs Eagles, and I think the Eagles are going to win again. I hope I'm
Wow,
wrong.
he's adding on there the winner,
I'm
man.
I'm giving you a winner. I'm giving you a winner
Oh,
this
I
time.
think that I'm gonna go with Packers. Go Packers and Chiefs.
God, those are oh, it's just so
Yeah,
bad, so gross,
yeah,
so
and like
gross.
before the like I don't know. I think if we record this podcast before all the Stafford injury stuff, I would have been much higher on the Rams than I am. Um, but no,
Yep,
no, with everything that's happened, I can't do it, and so yeah, we'll see. I just can't bet against the Chiefs that have made the AFC Championship every single year that Mahomes has
exactly.
been there. It's like I just won't do it. And as much as I want to pick the Ravens, like I did a few years ago, or the Bills, it's just not. I need to see it. It needs to be shown to be possible.
Exactly, because I think
And
like on paper I'd love to pick the Ravens, but
yep,
I just can't do it. I can't do it either.
yep. So there you have it. That's you got the NFC pod. If you want to listen to that, we already recorded that, and then the AFC pod is here along with all of our end of year predictions. Hopefully, you learned something, you enjoyed, you took notes, and excited for another year of football, even though both of our teams have some question marks, some big question marks going forward. Always excited for football, always try to cherish it when it comes around, always miss it when it's gone.
Exactly.
Never, and we predict, and we're pretty much always right, but in the
All I
end,
know is
nobody.
I've our first year I got the Super Bowl prediction right. So
It's true. It's true. But it's always unpredictable this NFL season, especially when we talk about like the division rankings. I'm always like, especially when you just like pick the same order as it was last year, you're kind of like, okay, well, this probably isn't going to happen. But with what you see, that's what it'll make sense. So,
yep.
yep. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see if we end up doing anything else for this throughout the year, at the end of the year. Haven't so far, so probably not. But if not, we'll catch you at the start of the next year. And yeah, good luck to your team.
Peace.